Hello out there. Welcome to the Heavy Montes podcast and my comedy show. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been looking at how the Republican Party tricked 77 million maggots into voting against themselves. Today, I'll tell you a story. I took my grandson to the park, and there was a lady sitting there, and she was very friendly, and she started talking to me. And we got into a conversation. And the conversation kind of turned a little political. And I like to listen to maggots. And what happened, the reason I call her a maggot, because she started talking like a maggot. She told me, Heavy Mountain, that she used to be a witch. And God came and talked to her and changed her life. And I said, wow. What can I say? I said, wow, that's cool. But I asked her a question. The same question that was asked of me when I said that to a friend, that God had came and talked to me. And the friend said to me, how did you know that was God that was talking to you? You know, she said, I know. I knew it was God. I didn't want to argue with her. But I went on and I said, did you see him? She said, no, you can't really see God. And I went on. I want to find out. I said, you know, what do you think God looked like? She said, God is a man. At that time, I understood why 52% of white women voted for Donald Trump. If God is a man, then they must obey. And I tried to explain to her, I said, King James, was a classic misogynist, I understand. You know, I'm saying that I don't really know if God is a man. My teaching said, well, I understand that God is God. I don't know. Maybe somebody in the chat can research that and tell us if God is a man. But God certainly is not Donald Trump, who the maggots say is the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. And in that same conversation today, America, with that young lady, she told me that we all must worship Jesus because the country was founded on God. And God is more important, and the Bible is more important than the American Constitution. The foundation of Project 2025, that the Bible outweighs our Constitution. But it was a friendly conversation. So we went on to talk a little bit more, and it was cordial. It never got angry. And I didn't get angry either because I want to learn. I want to understand why women voted for Donald Trump. And she told me because she was maggotized in the maggot church of America. In that same conversation, when she told me that we must worship, she said, Jesus, I said, is there a separation? You know, she couldn't answer. Is there that one God and Jesus? And she declared loudly and forcefully, she said that you cannot make it to heaven without Jesus. And I said, what about the Muslims and the Hindus and all these other people. She said, nope, they're all going to hell. So America, that's a pretty, excuse me, a pretty solid and hard thing to hang over a woman's head to say, you're going to go to hell if you don't let me whoop your ass. You're going to go to hell if you don't obey me. You're going to go to hell if you don't work in the kitchen, barefoot, pregnant, and have as many children as I tell you. Your body, my choice. That is crazy, America, in the eyes of Harry Montague. In my eyes, that is insanity. You know, they are saying to America, these 52% women, that we are second-class citizens and we are worshiping men. And in that same conversation, I did say to that young lady, I said, you know, I would think that God most likely would be a woman than a man. And she said, you know, you're not talking like a Christian. You know, I said, I don't have to defend my Christianity, you know, and who I am and what I am. That's not, my Christianity does not determine my politics the way you do. Huh? And your Christianity is in conflict, if I could have said this to her, with your religion. I did say to her that I don't feel that the maggot church, because she stated she was an evangelical, I don't think that the maggot church has anything in common with Jesus because they broke a tenet to welcome the poor, the immigrant. Excuse me, you see. So America, that's how the 52% got, maggotized. You know, I don't want to keep you on the web too long tonight, America, because we all got lives. Summertime. So that's the 52% white women. Now I want to talk about the black male in Charleston, South Carolina. Donald Trump is a vicious racist, in my opinion. Now, they have documentaries and they have news reports, out there saying this stuff. I don't know how true it is, but if you ask me, for what I see, in my opinion, he's a vicious racist. So, a black male said the vicious racist is going to help him somehow. I'm going to tell all you women the same thing. That black male is a male, and he will vote against women. You understand? When it all comes down to it, there are two sectors, women and men. But there are men out there right now that are fighting for the rights of women. So all you women, 52% white women out there, and any women that voted for Republicans, do not do it again. Because a vote for them is a vote against yourself and your health and your life and your freedom to vote. You understand? Huh? They don't like it. You having any freedom in saying anything. They want you to worship them as gods. So that's the reason why I never ever vote for a Republican. So we're going to we talked tonight a little bit about the black male men who think that Donald Trump is their friend because Brian Donald had them in a cigar bar in Charleston, South Carolina, telling them they were free at last and that Jim Crow was good for black people. Are you crazy? Make you want to laugh sometimes. You telling me the 52% white women that went out there and voted down, you know what I'm saying? A lot of men leave women, leave them in all kinds of trouble. Don't want to pay the child support. The government step in to protect the children. Republicans don't want to help nobody, taking away people's food stamps and Social Security and taking away money, from you 52% white women. So what we need to do, America, is drop all these labels. You know, I talk about it all the time. We need to stop talking about black people, white people, Chinese people, green people, whatever the hell kind of people, and say we are all Americans. And America, no matter what government we have, Republicans or Democrats, they need to guarantee us three things: the right to vote, America. You understand? We need to have Medicare for all. We don't need to wait till another pandemic comes. They say we got to mobilize and have people dying outside of tents. And the Republicans will wait too. They'll tell you, we need to wait and see what happens before we act. You see what I'm saying? We need to act right now. We need to get health care for our people. Huh? We need to make sure our people have jobs, and we need to make sure all the people are educated. And we need to say, we're going to drop all of these racial cards, Republicans. You're always talking about, Donald Trump is always talking about cards. And you know who play the cards? Republicans, race cards. Minorities, black people like myself, we don't want to be talking about race anymore. Huh? We have paid the cost to be Americans with our lives, you understand, in battle and in war. All the people, all the races of America have died for this country. Not just the elite, the billionaires. This is not your country. This country belongs to me and everybody like me, no matter what their race is. So we need to vote out all 215 of those nasty bastard Republicans who voted for that stinking ass bill. The big ugly bill. Now we see who and what they are. The enemy of the state. The Republican Party is the deep state. That government that lady in the park told me that exists, told me that Joe Biden was an evil man, and that's what I said. That is not true. He's a Christian man, a decent man. He is not Donald Trump. No matter how much you try, no matter what you say about Joe Biden will go down in history as one of the greatest presidents America has ever had. And we were interrupted, our progress, America, just for a little while. Our progress is being interrupted. But right now in America, you make doggone sure you never ever vote for a Republican again. Because Republicans are notorious liars, the deep state, the enemy of God, controlled and regulated by state-run media. 30 of the people that work for Donald Trump right now have formerly worked for Donald Trump. We got a soap opera and a comedy show in the White House. America. Huh? Yeah, they're laughing. They're laughing at the greatest country in the world. Who would elect a convict as president? Who would do such a thing? So now we suffer, America, but not for long. Huh? That's right. The midterms are coming. And if you vote for a Republican, you vote against yourself, because the Republicans have showed clearly that they hate your damn guts. This is Heavy Monte for the Heavy Monte podcast and the Heavy Monte Comedy Show. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel.